Welcome to Links and Locks, Action Network's golf betting podcast. I'm your host, Andy Lack, and I will be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these best bets episodes. Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the Black Desert Championship. Okay, Tony, we're bets. Get us started.
I'm gonna kick us out in the outright market, and I'm gonna go after Keith Mitchell at 16-1. So Black Desert Resort hosts the inaugural Black Desert Championship, and his first time on the tour is visiting this location. This new course just opened in May, and it plays at 7,371 yards and is a par 71. It's expected to play pretty easy this week. We're supposed to see a birdie fest, as well as we're gonna see really wide fairways with minimal hazards, which forgives those in the field who normally struggle with accuracy off the tee. Again, like I said, it's supposed to be a birdie fest this week. So the two things I'm really looking for is birdie or better percentage, as well as those who may benefit from a course with this amount of fairway forgiveness. And that brings me to Keith Mitchell, who enters this week in arguably better form than any other golfer in this field. That is why he's a tournament favorite at 16-1. And I usually don't love betting the tournament favorites in these, especially in these types of more open tournaments. But I think 16-1 is too wide still to pass up, in my opinion. He's made the cut in four straight events, improving week over week with three straight top 12 finishes, including his third place performance at last week's Sanderson Farms Championship. He also profiles well for this course, considering that he ranks first among the field in birdie or better percentage and second overall on tour, only behind Scotty Scheffler. So at a venue that's supposed to be a birdie fest, Mitchell should thrive in this environment. And finally, his main weakness is his driving accuracy. And like I said, that will be nullified this week at Black Desert Resort, which is why I am targeting the tournament favorite at 16-1.
I'm gonna stick with the outright market and take another one of the favorites at a little more appealing odds and Séamus Power at 30-1. Um, you look at some of the hallmarks of this golf course. I was looking at easy scoring conditions, as you mentioned. I expect it to play on the easier side as well. Vegas has the winning score set at about 21 minus 21.5. That sounds about right to me. I think maybe there's a chance that it plays a bit tougher than Sanderson Farms last week, which is one in a playoff at 23 under par, just because, if you miss the fairways here, you're in lava. The big miss will be penalized here more so than other golf courses in terms of some of the other resort courses we see, but still think the corridors are wide enough. The greens are fairly soft, flat, receptive, large. Also, it's at altitude, 3,000 feet above altitude. It's above sea level. It's going to play closer to 7,100 yards. Guys are going to have a lot of scoring clubs in their hands. You look at easy scoring conditions, fall swing, and resort courses. Séamus Power is the only player in this field to rank top five in all three of those metrics. This is a perfect Séamus Power spot. I'll gladly buy him here at 30-1.
Yeah, I love that play. I was looking at him as well. I'm gonna keep us around those same odds. I'm gonna go after Patrick Fishburn at 35-1. So he's also, like I was talking about with Mitchell, in incredible form. He's made the weekend in five of his past six tournaments, but he's not only just making the weekend, he's flirting with winning seemingly every week. Finished third at Procore, sixth at the 3M Open, and third at the Barracuda. He's got another 15th place finish over that six tournament stretch, and he just made the cut at last week's Sanderson Farms. I do think that he can get over that hump against this is a really watered down field this week. It's a really, really weak field. And I think if he's gonna get over that hump, I think it could absolutely be against this caliber of field, especially with how strong his putter's been. He's been great off the tee. He's around his greenside play's been improving. He's a great approach player. And I think he can thrive in this low scoring environment. Like we were just talking about, he is above the tour average in birdie or better percentage. And just with his increasingly strengthening game, I should say, and the recent form, I think 35-1 is a targetable number for Fishburne this week.
I'm gonna stick in the outright market and go with Andrew Novak, 45-1. I talk about him often on this show as a first round leader candidate. And I think he's a great first round leader bet as well. But Andrew Novak has quietly been playing some great golf, pretty much all season, but he kept it going last week at the Sanderson Farms, finished top 25, gained over three strokes on approach. He's also put together a number of high-end finishes on golf courses that I think are pretty solid reference points. He finished eighth earlier this season at TPC Scottsdale, which I think will play a little bit tougher than this golf course, but both golf courses were designed by Tom Weiskopf. Both golf courses, it's really like pretty straightforward architecture if you're able to keep the ball in play, out of the desert, or in this case, in Utah, the lava. The golf course is pretty much right out in front of you, and your irons can really do the talking, which is the case for Novak. Similar deal at Vidanta Vallarta, another kind of easier driver heavy resort golf course. Got some room off the tee. Golf course really opens up for you if you drive the ball and play. It's another top 10 finish for Andrew Novak. I love the way he's hitting his irons at the moment. I think this is a very winnable event for him. So give me Andrew Novak at 45-1.
Once again, I'm going to keep us around the same odds. I'm going to go after Justin Lauer outright at 50-1. So this is one of those, we talk often on this podcast about how if you have a consistently strong putter, then at least the floor is there for you. And I just like this as a high floor option, especially at 50-1. Lauer has made the cut in 8 straight tournaments. He's gained true strokes playing in all 8 of those tournaments, and he just finished 7th a couple weeks ago at the Pro Core Championship. And again, if the floor is there, can he get the birdies? So, kind of put him over the top in a low scoring event. And I think he can, because he ranks 23rd on tour in birdie or better percentage this season. And that is among this field. That's in like the top 5 of the entire field. So the putter's going to be there to give us the floor. And if he's there in the weekend and the putter stays hot, and then I think with his ability to scramble and score, I think he can absolutely kind of get into that extra tier of not only just making the cut, but flirting with a top 10 finish just like he did at the Pro Core. And finally, the last thing I want to say about Lauer is that his main weakness is his distance, but the 35-year-old is not going to really struggle with that off the tee this week at higher elevation. Everyone's going to be bombing the ball in Utah, so I'm not really worried about that. And that is usually kind of something that holds him back a little bit. So Lauer at 50-1.
On the same page. That was my exact next play. Justin Lauer, 50-1. I mean, just to add to what you're discussing just now, I mean, he really is one of the best bent grass putters in this field. These greens are pure Dominator 007 XL bent grass. This is a type of surface that Lauer has had a ton of success at in the past. He's one of the best putters in this field from 5 to 15 feet. And I think it's a pretty easy tee to green golf course. I think it is resort style conditions. I think the fairways are going to be soft, lush, wide, greens receptive. I mean, really all you have to do is keep the ball on the planet and avoid the massive miss here. And you're going to have a ton of scoring opportunities. Lauer is one of the best putters in this field. And I just think on one of these golf tournaments that kind of teeters the line as a putting contest where everybody's going to be hitting a ton of greens in regulation. Give me one of the best putters in the field at 50-1. I'm with you on Justin Lauer this week.
Very glad we're on the same page there. I am going to do one more outright guy, and that's Rico Hadley at 66-1. In a similar sense of Lauer, not so much because he's not nearly as good of a putter as Lauer is, but I just like him as a high floor option at 66-1. Hoey has made the weekend in 8 straight tournaments, and he has 3 top 8 finishes over that stretch. He's been playing a terrific brand of golf recently. You could argue he's been playing the best brand of golf since getting his card. And he's won on Corn Ferry before. He knows what it takes to win. He has yet to win on the PGA Tour. I think in a field like this would be one of those opportunities where he could capitalize. He's good in low scoring events. He's 48th on tour in birdie or better percentage. And with the recent form and the high ceiling, I just like the number of 66-1 on a guy who I still think is a little undervalued in the outright market, and that's Rico Hadley.
I'm going to take us into the top 10 market here in a player that I think is a bit undervalued this week. I liked him last week, and he was a big disappointment. I'm talking about JJ Spaun, who shot a 75 in round 1 of the Sanderson Farms and then withdrew. For all intents and purposes, my understanding is that was not injury related as whatsoever. That was JJ Spaun shot 3 over par at the Sanderson Farms and realized he would need to shoot 62 just to make the cut. What are we doing here? Right. And because of that withdrawal, because of one bad round of golf, he has jumped from 20 to 50 to 1 in the outright market. His top 10 odds have doubled. I'm betting him top 10 at 4 to 1. He was 2 to 1 last week to finish top 10 because of one bad round. I think for all of the reasons why JJ Spawn was 22 to 1 last week, one of the best approach players in the field, back-to-back top 10 finishes to end his 2024 season. I think it's a bit of an overreaction in a field that's just as bad as the Sanderson, if not worse. I actually like the fact that he got to Utah early compared to some of those guys that were, battling it out on Sunday in the Southeast, now traveling all the way to Utah for a Thursday start time, hopping a couple time zones. Give me JJ Spawn 4 to 1 to finish top 10. The guy was nearly the tournament favorite last week in Sanderson, and I think this field's worse. So just think there's a lot of value there on Spawn at 4 to 1.
You absolutely sold me. I'm telling you on that because I do agree. I think this field is worse than last week for sure. I'm gonna go to the top 20 market. I'm gonna go after Vince Whaley at plus 280. So he entered this week in good form with two top 16 finishes over his past four tournaments. One of those performances included his runner-up finish at the Barracuda Championship, and he should find somewhat similar success against this watered-down field. Whaley's biggest weakness by far is an inconsistent driver, but I think that's going to be really nullified this week. I know there's trouble way on the outsides, but you have to really miss them. These fairways can play really wide, and you really are going to have to lose your tee shots here. I don't think it is his problem, but I don't think he's going to be that bad. So if his ball is in play off the tee, then he's going to be scoring just like everyone else is. And just with that forgiveness, I think he can enter the birdie fest, right? He ranks 62nd in the 62nd percentile on tour in birdie or better percentage. And he has, like I said, two top 20 finishes over his past four tournaments. The number's plus 280. His biggest weakness should be nullified. So that's where I'm going to go with Vince Whaley this week.
I'm going to stick in the top 10 market for one more top 10 in Doug Ghim, top 10 plus 475. I love the way that Ghim has been playing. He's got back-to-back top 40 finishes to start the fall swing, but specifically the way he's been getting it done. Ghim's one of the best approach players in this field. He had another great approach week last week at the Sanderson Farms. I have him over the last 36 rounds of all players in this field, number one in approach play. I think there's a number of ways to win at this event. I think you could bomb it off the tee and hit a bunch of short irons. I think you can make a bunch of 15-footers. Doug Ghim might be the best pure iron player in this field, and he's a very accurate driver as well, so you don't have to worry about him keeping the ball in play in these wide fairway corridors. I think Doug Ghim is going to have a middle iron in his hand often at this golf course. I do have some concerns about the putter. He has been putting a little bit better. I just think the iron play is elite enough to the point where his approach play can take him into the top 10 alone. So I've got plus 475, top 10 on Doug Ghim.
Love that. I'm gonna go to the top 20 one more time as well, and I'm gonna go after Lanto Griffin at plus 360. So this is just another guy where I'm trying to kind of catch him on the upswing. He's made four straight weekends. He finished 10th at Keene Trace when they played there over the summer. He hasn't played a lot recently, but I still think the form is there. And again, this is just such a weak field where I think there's just so many guys that can squeak their way into the top 20, especially when you look at guys who thrive in low scoring conditions, which is what Keene Trace is and what we're going to see this week. And Griffin is above the tour average in birdie or better percentage. And I just think he's kind of a safe guy to target, at least in some market. I don't think he may not get to that top 20, but I also don't think this is going to be a week where he really implodes. I think kind of his game is just going to be very safe for him this week. So at the end of the day, if we're entering Sunday, he's in like 35th entering the round. Maybe he gets to the number, maybe he doesn't, but at plus 360 and a guy who usually plays better in these birdie fests, I think it's worth taking a shot on Griffin to finish inside the top 20.
Glad you mentioned him. He didn't make my top 9, but he was kind of right on the border for me. So I'm glad that you got to him. I'm going to go with a player that I highlighted last week. He didn't win for us, but he played well enough for me to have no reason to get off the train now. And that's Nick Hardy. Nick Hardy, we were all over him last week. He finished T28. He gained strokes off the tee. He gained strokes on approach. He gave a stroke back around the green. I'm okay with that. And he gained strokes putting as well. If around the green is his weakness, I think that should translate well to this golf course too. I think that there are going to be a lot of similarities in terms of the required skill set that you're going to need at Black Desert that looked good at Sanderson Farms. The reasons that we liked him at Sanderson Farms, driver heavy, great approach player, hitting his irons great at the moment, has some putting upside. Has a good spot for Nick Hardy. I bet him plus 300 top 20. I think he improves upon his finish last week at the Sanderson Farms, where he was only one shot out of a top 20 finish.
I love that. And speaking of the Sanderson Farms, I'm gonna go after the guy who finished runner-up last week, and that's Beau Hossler. I like him in pretty much every market this week, but I'm gonna target him in the first round leader market at 50 to 1. Although I think there's an argument to be made for him anywhere. The only reason I'm doing this market, honestly, is just because he ranks fifth on tour in first round scoring average. So we're getting that bump in price for a guy who usually starts better than he finishes anyways. So at 50 to 1, Beau Hossler in the first round leader. There's a couple reasons why I like him. First, obviously, he just had that dramatic loss last week, but he's going to be entering this tournament in as good as form as anyone else on Thursday. So I think that he has that going for him. And I really liked how strong his overall game was at Sanderson. He gained 2.73 true strokes all around. He was great with the putter, fine around the green. He was awesome with his irons, and he was good off the tee. And I was especially not shocked, but I want to say pleasantly, I don't know the word, but pleasantly like almost delighted with his play off the tee, because that's usually kind of one thing that holds him back. But he was great. He gained true strokes off the tee. He was bombing the ball. He was more accurate than the field by a good amount. And I just think with how well he looked all around, I think there's no reason to believe he won't carry that momentum into this week. Again, I kind of like him in every market, but I'm just going to take the first round leader just because he's coming in hot and he ranks fifth in first round scoring average.
I am going to stay with one more guy in the top 20 market and go with Ben Cole's top 20, 3 to 1. He is another player coming off a top 20 finish at the Sanderson Farms. He gained a stroke off the tee. He gained 4 strokes on approach. I love the way that he's hitting his irons at the moment. He has made now both of his cuts this fall swing. He's gained over 3 strokes ball striking in both appearances. And for what it's worth, he almost won at TPC Craig Ranch back in May, which is another Tom Weiskopf design birdie fest. Uh, if you think that might be a bit translatable, which I do, I think this is a phenomenal spot for Ben Coles. Great bent grass putter, great recent form, great approach player, great track record and resume of success on easier golf courses, on Tom Weiskopf golf courses. Give me Ben Coles top 23 to 1.
I like it. I'm gonna do another first round leader play, and that's Chandler Phillips at 66 to 1. I talked about him last week, and I really like how his game is played. He did not get into that top 20 for us, unfortunately, last week. But I do think he can get off to a strong start this week. He ranks 12th on tour in first round scoring average, first of all, which is kind of why I'm targeting him on Thursday. But he should thrive in a birdie environment. He ranks 28th on tour in birdie or better percentage. And he's made the weekend in 3 straight tournaments. He finished 13th at the Pro Tour. He's finished inside the top 40 in the other 2. He's gained true total strokes in all 3 of those tournaments. And another reason why I like him this week is because if you really look at his game, the one thing that holds him back, and I've talked about this earlier today already, is driving distance. Everyone's going to be bombing the hell out of the ball this week in Utah. So I don't think that's going to be as much of a concern with him this week at altitude. And if you take away that part of his game, he's really got kind of that inconsistent scrambling. But besides that, he's just up there with everyone else in this field. And I don't think he's going to have to scramble that often because everyone's going to be hitting so many greens in regulation. So considering how he usually starts better than he finishes, I like, and for all those other reasons I just said, I like Chandler Phillips to lead after Thursday at 66 to 1.
Love that. I will throw out a first round leader play as well. I've got Chesson Hadley, 110 to 1 first round leader. A bit of a long shot, but I love this play. We talk about some of the guys that perform well in round one. Chesson Hadley checks that box. He rises to the top of this field in round one, scoring performance in easy scoring conditions over the last 2 years. He's a great bent grass putter. I'm always looking to target guys with a ton of putting upside in round one. And he's coming off a pretty solid iron performance last week at the Sanderson Farms, where he made the cut, finished T55, gained over a stroke and a half on approach. Give me Chesson Hadley 110-1 in the first round leader market.
I have a final first round leader play as well, and that's Henrik Norlander at 80-1. So I just mentioned that Phillips was 12th on tour in first round scoring average. The guy tied with him at 12th is Henrik Norlander. He usually starts better than he finishes. And I think, can he get off to a good start on Thursday? I think so, because he usually thrives better in Birdie Fest. He's above the tour average in birdie or better percentage, and he's been playing pretty damn well recently. He's made the cut in 6 straight tournaments. He has 4 top 25 finishes over that stretch. He hasn't gotten over the hump of winning, but he's been playing well to start the week to get him in position to where at least he can be in the conversation during the weekend. And like I just talked about with Phillips, well, the one thing that holds Norlander back usually is his lack of distance off the tee relative to his peers. I don't think that's going to really matter this week. So like I said, everyone's going to be bombing the ball and at altitude. The thing I am worried about him a little bit is his putter. I'm hoping that with how easy the course is expected to play, he's not going to be forced to make a lot of long putts, to keep up with the birdie fest. If he on Thursday, if he does, then he's probably out of this market. But 80-1, with that really being my only concern for him, I think that's worth a flyer in the first round leader market.
Love that. I'm going to finish this off with a matchup play. And I've got Erik van Rooijen minus 110 over Chris Kirk. Two golfers I'm surprised we haven't touched on yet this week, given the fact that both of them are close to tournament favorites. I think you could find both of them in the 25 to 30-1 range. I just prefer EVR in this spot. I was on him last year when he won in the fall swing on a resort style course, Diamante Dunes in Mexico, where we'll be going in a couple of weeks. Chris Kirk, this is his first appearance this fall swing. I definitely think of him more as a short positional course guy, more of a Bermuda guy. Give me EVR, who is a much more powerful driver of the ball, who I think can dominate this course off the tee with his driver. I think Chris Kirk is a little better suited for your harbor towns, your Sedgefields, Erik van Rooijen, more your resort courses, your Diamante Dunes. I think the track this week is going to fall closer into that bucket of bombing out there and find it, go out and sun run. Give me Erik van Rooijen minus 110 over Chris Kirk. That will do it for our best bets episode for the Black Desert Championship. As a reminder, our action experts Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our Black Desert Championship betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast.